Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to yet another edition of the Lambom Show. And this evening, we continue our weekly conversations on African immigrants, African development. And precisely because we are in the month of the month when we celebrate women, not just African women, but women. They say it's Women's History Month. I'll rather frame it differently. It's not about the history, but really about women. And every day we celebrate women. Uh, we all are what we are because we have women, isn't it? They are the ones who bring us to life. But in a very particular way, we know that for the last 6 weeks or more, we have dedicated our Wednesdays to talking about African development, the role of African immigrants. Sir ED Okpa, based in Dallas, has been very gracious with his time, gracious with his talent, gracious with his gifts, accepted to do this for the whole year of 2021. Every Wednesday, 1 hour or more, we share um, uh, what he thinks, his reflections on life in general, and his philosophy of life. And it has been a very enterprising venture. Many people have fallen in love with the philosophy of Sir ED Okpa. I call him Sir, and I think because it's my show, I can give people titles that I want. It's my show. So today, a little bit different because I had been pleading with him. Again, I said it at the beginning of the month, Women's History Month. I wanted to talk about 30 or 31 women of substance. And I asked Sir Okpa, who are the women who influence you the most in your life? And he said, as I was looking, I said, I don't want your mother, I don't want your wife, because those are obvious. And he told me, charity begins at home. There's no way I'm going to leave my wife and start talking about some other person. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very happy that he insisted. And the reason we are doing this is because it's not behind every successful man, there's a woman. It is not in front of every successful man, there's a woman. It's with every successful man, it's a woman, isn't it? That's the way. I think Sir Okpa has a better way of putting it. I'll let him come on. But let me bring everybody on so that we can say, oh, so Madame Ronke Okpa, welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, it's an honor, it's a privilege to have you with us. Sir Okpa.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So we'll take the first 30 minutes and focus with Madame, then we'll come back to you when Madame is gone so that we can talk about some stuff.
You said anything, okay?
Yeah. So, Madame, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me over. I feel very honored, and it's good to meet you. And I am grateful that my husband has been a contributor to your show weekly. Just my quick background, I was born in the US, and at the age of 4, I moved to Nigeria with my family. And then I came back for college in 1989. So when I came back to the US, I lived with my uncle and his family in Huntsville, Alabama. And that's where I attended University of Alabama in Huntsville, and I got my bachelor's in engineering. And when I graduated from engineering, I moved to New York because I couldn't see myself living in Alabama. No offense, whatever. It was early 90s. So I moved to New York, got a job as an electrical engineer. And then when I was sick of New York, I moved to Connecticut. It was still close enough to New York to where I could go on the weekends and hang out with my friends. And so oddly enough, after college, I had given myself about 3 years to start my own business. I just didn't know what type of business I wanted to do, but I always knew I wanted to own my own business. I had to be my own boss or whatever. And nothing jumped out, nothing. So I just kept on working as an engineer, And then I got laid off in, gosh, that was a long time ago. I want to say 2000. So 21 years ago. Wow. Yeah, so I got laid off as an engineer in the year 2000. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do? So I got a contract to train software. And that's how I got into consulting, which is now what I do. So I own my own company. I've been in consulting since the year 2000, and that's all I've done. And I've just really enjoyed the journey. I've met great people along the way, and I've learned a lot as well along the way. And in terms of what I like to do for fun, of course, I love to travel outside of the US, and I mentor girls that are looking into STEM careers, because there are not that many women in STEM careers, and it's something I like to encourage girls to do or to pursue.
Oh my God, I'm already blushing, just listening to that journey. Um, Many people leave Nigeria and come to the United States. And so let me start with that opening statement where you said at the age of 4, you now travel back to Nigeria. You're born in the US. Why? I mean, I guess your parents brought you back to Nigeria. And what was that experience for you? How was Nigeria when I know 4, how long ago was that?
Yeah, believe it or not, the experience was very traumatic for me, even though I was 4. You wouldn't think a 4-year-old would know better. But funny story, we arrived in Nigeria at night. That I remember. And I remember going to my grandparents' house on my mom's side. My maternal grandmother was still alive at the time. She lived in Lagos. And we get there, they give us dinner, and she had made stew. And so, because we were all picky eaters, my mom was like, yeah, we'll just give them some bread and some stew. Well, they had no idea that we were not accustomed to the Nigerian/African pepper. So I took one bite and I thought I was going to die. It was so hot. And so that was my first indoctrination into Nigeria. And believe it or not, I still remember it, because they say in childhood, you only remember things that are either very traumatic or very joyful. I remember it because, again, the food was too spicy for me. And I remember all the things my parents had to do to calm my mouth down. So, and
So
after it took me a while to really assimilate into Nigeria, because I wasn't, again, at the age of 4, I wasn't used to seeing flies all over the US. And so just seeing insects and wall geckos, I was traumatized, to the point where my mom said for years they thought they would have to move us all back to the US, because I just could not assimilate into Nigeria. It was just strange. So
so how long did you stay in Nigeria?
13 years.
13 years.
And every time the older I got, the more I knew I needed to come back to the US. So from the time I got into high school, I told my family that I was moving back to the US. And I didn't know how, but I said, I'm moving back to the US. I'm going to get a scholarship, and I'm moving back to the US. And so for me, it was a done deal. I was not staying in Nigeria to go to school, even though I did all the exams to get into university, and I passed with flying colors, and I got accepted to actually study pharmacy in Nigeria. Because in Nigeria, it was pharmacy I was thinking of studying. So, but because I had put it out there so much, I ended up coming back to the US. Unexpected, it just happened like that. Like,
So I am kind of curious about it happening like that because it seems to fall in line with what Okpa normally says. I don't want to reference him a lot while you're on stage, but there's something about you being accepted to pharmacy school, maybe because of your science background, I'll presume. Pharmacy might have been, and then you have a passion for people. But what is it about Nigeria that revolted you so much that you were yearning to come back to the United States?
I think all the superstition didn't sit well with me because I felt like even though I was 4 in the US, there were not a lot of things I had to worry about as a child living in the US. Again, I was just 4. But when I get to Nigeria, I had to worry about no light, no water. Fortunately, we lived on campus. My dad was a professor at the Polytechnic. He was lecturer rather at a Polytechnic. So we did have light and water to an extent, and we didn't have to worry about robbers. But you were aware that other people suffered through that. Other people didn't have light, other people didn't have water. Um, then you knew that you had to be home by sunset because of thieves. I think it was just too much pressure at a young age that I knew that I had never experienced before. And because I was just a very sensitive kid, I just picked up on a lot of things. And it was like, oh yeah, we can when you go to this person's house, don't eat there because you're from America and you don't know what type of water they use to cook the food. So you might have typhoid fever. It was just one thing or the other, just, sheltering, make sure you don't drink this water. And then there were times when we will run out of water and then we'll have to go find water. We lived on the Polytechnic campus and it was next door to the University of Ibadan. So we would have to cross over to University of Ibadan with our jerry cans at 5 and 6 years old. I didn't have to carry it, but I still experienced it. And I'm not saying it was traumatic. I'm just saying I knew there was a better life at that age. What can I tell you?
Right. So again, that's interesting. But let's fast forward the bad experience because the one thing I can tell you is you are confirming said Okpa's point. The systems that Nigeria had in the 1800s, they are still living till today. Then nothing has changed that much. Okay, we're going to get to that part. That's where I have a problem with it, but we'll talk about that. But now, fast forward to, I'm kind of curious, electrical engineering. To be honest with you, I've lived in the United States for 18 years. I don't know whether I would ask you to come and change the bulb in my living room because that's what I understand electrical engineering is. But talk to me about that part.
That's a good question. So there's a difference between an electrician and an electrical engineer. An electrician goes to a trade school, gets a certificate, 2 years. So they're the ones that will come change your light bulb or fix electrical issues in your house. An electrical engineer actually does design work. So they're the ones that will design components or appliances that we use. So that's the vast difference. And over the years, I get that. Someone will go, oh, my toaster broke down. Can you come fix it? And I'm like, not like, excuse me. It's like, excuse me. It's like calling a doctor or a nurse. No, I'm not.
I'm laughing because you just made me look stupid in terms of making the difference between. But that's the point, isn't it?
Had $1 for every time someone has said that to me. Gosh, I would have built my house on the Atlantic Ocean. I would have a mansion. Yeah.
Right. So again, just speak to why that particular why did you choose to become an electrical engineer? Maybe I reverse it. Why did you take an interest in that part?
It was a very easy decision for me. So, like I mentioned before, I got accepted into pharmacy in Nigeria. I looked into pharmacy in Nigeria because my older sister was in pharmacy. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I needed to be my own boss. I needed to have my own hours. So I thought if I went into pharmacy, she and I could start our own chemist or our own pharmacy practice. That was the plan. But once I left Nigeria, I was like, okay, for starters, I come from a family of engineers, but they're all male engineers. So I was always familiar with what engineers do. My dad's a mechanical engineer, and he has several patents. He worked for Johnson and Johnson in the US before we moved back. He worked for Simplicity Patterns. And he had his face on magazines. So from the young age of 4, I saw magazines with my dad's face on the cover. And I was aware of his patents. So engineering was not foreign to me. He has a younger brother who's a civil engineer. And on my mom's side, electrical engineers. There's just electrical engineers. All right. And then growing up, I noticed that I had never met a single female engineer. And that intrigued me because I've always liked different things. I'm attracted to the uncommon. I'm attracted to things that are unexpected. And so once I realized that that I didn't know any female engineers, and that I only knew of one in the city where I grew up, which is Ibadan. There was only one that was known. I thought this would be a great career to get into. So once I came back to the US and I moved in with my uncle and his family, who happens to be an electrical engineer, it was
Okay.
an easy enough transition for me because it just made sense. It was a no-brainer at that point. Besides, I was very keen knowing the starting salaries for all the different professions when I moved here. So not only did I look at pharmacy, I looked at electrical engineering. But what I liked, why I preferred electrical engineering over pharmacy was because, again, I would be that unicorn because there were not that many women in engineering at the time. And we're talking 89. So
That's an interesting journey. So, for the sake of the audience, if you're just joining us, welcome. You're on the Lambom Show, and today we are privileged to have the Okpas with us, Ed Okpa and the wife Ronke, and we are celebrating Women's History Month. We are celebrating the history of Madame Ronke, who, born in the United States, traveled back to Nigeria at the age of 4, came back and went to school, electrical engineers, a business lady. Now, so for somebody who's listening to you, I have a 10-year-old daughter. I don't think she's on tonight, but I'm wondering what is it that if you had to encourage young girls, because that's part of what you said, you are interested in the STEM, that's science, technology. What does the E stand for? Engineering and math. Okay, so if you are young girls who are listening and they wanted to follow your path in the United States, for example, what should they be doing?
for starters, I would say to the parents first, let your daughters see other women in leadership. Because I remember from a very young age, I was surrounded by powerful women, women who were not afraid to go after their dreams and their careers. Mind you, my mom's in her 80s. And so my mom was a secondary school principal before she retired. She's still alive. But she had also really strong friends. The woman who lived across the street from us was a lawyer who became a judge. Her very good friend who lived adjacent from us was a medical doctor. She and my mom went to high school together, or no, college together in London. And then we just had family friends of women who had really strong careers. They didn't have the usual careers that most women had back then. And that made an impact because I realized that I didn't have to be like everyone, because they say when you see it, you can be it. And then back then, the prime minister of the Philippines was a woman as well. And I used to watch her in awe and go, wow, if a woman can be a prime minister, I can be a prime minister too. So I think it goes a long way for the parents to expose their children to women who look like them that they can relate to, so that it can resonate unconsciously or subconsciously. You're giving your daughter permission to do great things by letting them see someone that looks like them. And then to the 10-year-old, I would ask them what they like to do, what inspires them, what are the things that they take notice of. Because not everybody can be a scientist. I know growing up in Nigeria, we had like the major career: medicine, law, engineering, and pharmacy, whatever. And then it was like, if you were a science student, you were a science student, something to be proud of. But not everybody needs to study science. So the question is, what is their passion? What is their interest? And expose them to the different opportunities out there. They're women engineers. And engineering spans beyond electrical, they're mechanical engineers, they're civil engineers, they're computer engineers. Do they like computers? So it will be a long conversation, but you start with finding out what their interests are. And they might not even know at that age. But once you start planting the seed for them to come to a self-realization of who they are and their ability to make choices on who they want to be as an adult, I think that goes a long way.
So very interesting. I think it's interesting that Nigeria, I love the way you put it in terms of the prominent careers, isn't it? Medicine, lawyers, and all that. But they already had a predisposition to the sciences, isn't it? Because of your background, your family thing. And I just want to say, Okpa, just so that you note, our conversation for today is going to be about tribalism versus citizenship. Already, your tribe, your family created the opportunity for you to grow and love the sciences. Not every family does that, isn't it? So tribalism in that sense is great. And I love the question I asked, and you're saying back to parents, what is the passion? Expose your child to all that. So let's presume you have done all that. What is the path? What do they need to focus on while in middle school, in high school, in order to follow this path? Because again, all I see is reading and math.
I would also encourage the parents to send them to different types of camps if they can afford it in the summer, so that they can explore their interests. So if most parents know from a young age what their children like. And so if they know this child is strong in science, encourage them to go to science fairs. There's all sorts of science fairs that happen. I mean, before COVID, of course, you could attend all these events, meet people in the industry, encourage them to tons of videos online, science videos that they can watch that can spur their interest and help them to narrow down the things that they love. So let me give you an example. I have a nephew who's 6 years old. At that age already, we can tell he loves everything about space. That's all he listens to. That's all he wants to watch. He will tell you the size of the sun in comparison to the planet Mars and how these constellations or these comets are coming down and going to kill all of us in 500,000 years. And we're like, you won't be here, so it doesn't matter. You know, that's all he listens to. So the parents also need to pay attention to what is grabbing the child's interests so that they can harness that and help the child fulfill that yearning. I've always felt that the purity of your passion or your career path might unfold while you're a child. It's when you start thinking about, oh, well, let's say you're 6, especially like in a Nigerian household, and you're 6 and you say, oh, I want to be an actress, or I want to be an athlete. And it's like, no, how are you going to make money? But that's their real desire. You just really have to monitor your child and then help them along the way. Let them watch shows that pertain to their interests. Subscribe to magazines. There are all these different subscription boxes where children receive some gizmo that they have to assemble every month. And the beauty of those subscription boxes is the type of things that they send them are different. So some could be more chemistry related, where some are more assembly related, and so there is always a variation, and you can see what your child is leaning towards. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, perfectly. And look, before we go on, I'd like to take your permission for a couple of more minutes, because I know that we said 30 minutes for you. I have 2 or 3 more questions just to wrap up. Good. Thank you. I don't want Sir Okpa to be in trouble after this, because he may not have dinner after this. But right. So again, what are some of the challenges you have faced as a woman in this field that is male dominated? That can be obvious, okay, but what are some of the challenges you have faced, and how have you overcome some of these challenges?
Yeah, okay. So back in the early 90s, before the computer age, before every interview, I would have to be interviewed by at least 8, 9 engineers. And obviously, they were all white male. It is what it is. And I'll have to stand in front of a board and work out all these problems longhand, and prove myself. And I assumed that's what everyone had to do, until my last job as an engineer, where I applied and the director of engineering was a woman and she had a PhD. I get into the office, I expect a panel of people to grill me, and she looks at me and she goes, "Ronke, we're both women. We both know the things they've had us do. We constantly have to jump through hoops to prove that we know what we're doing. And I'm not going to do that to you. You have gotten here because of how good you are, and I don't have to test you because I know you can do it. Just invited you so that we can get to know each other, and I could determine if you think this is a good fit for you." That was my interview. I was blown away. And so then I decided to talk to my male counterpart engineers and find out the type of interviews they had. They never had 7 people. They never had to stand in front of a board and prove that they knew their stuff. They just had a regular interview like every other person. Was I hurt by it? No. It is what it is. I was in a dominant male industry, so I did that. And I remember one of the occasions, no, not more than one occasion, but one in particular where I worked as an applications engineer. So an applications engineer is someone who speaks to customers when they call to help them through a problem. So a company like Frito-Lay call and say, our assembly line is down and it has your motor on it, or it has your controller on it, and we're losing $500,000 every 30 minutes. The system is down, and we need an engineer to talk us through how to get our assembly line back on. So I'll be one of the people they would get a hold of. And so these calls are rotated. There were three of us who were applications engineers, so we're doing this. And so I pick up the phone one day, and this guy goes, "Can I speak to an engineer?" I said, "Speaking," because it always throws them off. Right?
Right.
And they're like thrown for a loop, and they're like, "Can I speak to an engineer?" And I'm like, so he caught himself and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wouldn't want somebody to do that to my daughter. I
Oh,
apologize.
wow.
I recognize that my bias, and I apologize. Here is my question." And I was able to help him. Now, here's the kicker. There were times when other people would call and they wouldn't be comfortable with me being able to help them. And they would ask to speak to a manager or someone else. Okay, but what they just told me they're losing $500,000 every 30 minutes. I am not obligated to find you someone else to help you immediately. Because you've chosen not to acknowledge that I can help you. That's okay. I'll put you on hold. So I'll just put them on hold. "Oh, yeah, sure, sir." And they'll be on hold. It's your money that's running. When you're ready to talk to somebody and act right, you will get your help. And my male colleagues knew, so they won't even answer the phone either. They will just sit in the queue.
So I hope one of those companies was not one of these that Okpa was leading in Dallas. So, calling to say that they have an infrastructure problem and they need.
100 years ago.
Right.
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, I asked for 5. We have a couple of more. So tell me, we're celebrating Women's History Month.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about young girls. What about African women? Because generally the temptation is African immigrant women in the United States. Many people are not paying attention to. Most are nurses. There are too many things happening. If you had to talk to African women, African immigrant women, what would be your message to them?
In terms of what career path to pursue?
Anything of your choice. I mean, so Okpa talks about the fact that we did not leave Nigeria and come here to be wearing red hats and wearing agbadas to work and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I have one last question related to Sir Okpa because that would not be fair. But go ahead.
To the African woman who's just migrated here, I would say the best thing you could do is find American friends. Don't only find African people that you can speak your language to or that you think you can relate to. Because I find that I am extremely enriched with information when I talk to my American friends. This is their country. They know the loopholes, the legal loopholes. They know how their country works, and they are a wealth of information. I would also say that it is in your best interest to find out as much information on your own about this country and the different career paths. Don't come here thinking that nursing is your only path here, because you've been told nurses make money. There are other careers that make money that don't require you to work so hard. Someone said something very interesting to me, I want to say 20 years ago, that I like to borrow. She said that when you first come to the US, your success in the US might be limited based on the people that you hang out with. So when you first get to America, and if people are saying, "Ah, there are no jobs in America, oh, you know, us immigrants, all we can do is McDonald's. Just go and apply at McDonald's. Go and do LPN. Just go. Then that's the only jobs you have." She said, "Those are the jobs you have. But if you're around people that can say, no, there's so many other options available. You can be a pharmaceutical rep, for instance. You don't even have to be a pharmacist. A pharmaceutical sales rep. The pharmacy Pfizer will give you a business card. They'll give you a cell phone, a laptop. They'll train you. They'll teach you everything you need to do. And you make a really good living at it. I mean, there's just so many careers that you can do. It is in your best interest to make it your business to know what people do in this country to make money. Don't come with a narrow-minded attitude, thinking that you know, because you don't know. Yeah, we all have those um, stories of, oh, my cousin lives in America, and they said, no, you live here now. Find out for yourself. Get the information. Read billboards. This is what my uncle told me. My uncle was very instrumental to my success in America. He said, exposure is key. The more you know, the more you're armed and the more you're equipped. Pick up newspapers. Read anytime you pass a billboard, like you're in college or something, stand there and read everything there. You might just be surprised as to the information that is provided. He said, Americans will share information with you. Ask questions. But the best thing you can do for yourself is expose yourself to other people that are not like you. Expose yourselves to Americans. I'm not saying you don't have your African friends, your Nigerian friends, Kenyan friends. I'm not saying that. But you have to have some American friends that you can have conversation with, because you will be amazed at the amount of information that they would share with you.
So before I go to my last question, I would like to apologize because I don't like next time that I want to talk to you and say 30 minutes and go to 45 minutes now. But I know the answer to this question because you met your husband when you were already call it a professional, isn't it? But this is somebody from the audience. Do those again. Like your husband, you broke the paradigm. You used a path less traveled by many Africans. Would it be fair to say that the enduring relationship you built with your dear husband was influenced and fertilized by a sense of familiarity and associated osmosis? So, I mean, like I said, these are people who have followed Okpa for the last six or seven sessions, and everybody's now thinking that, hey, I need to be around Okpa in order to move. So they are wondering, this privileged, and I mean, I don't think that's fair to say you have a privileged position, but I think the question is, what role has your husband played in helping you to get to where you want to be? Even though I know that the reverse is true.
Oh, he's played a tremendous role. I remember when we were dating, we hadn't even married yet. And I don't even know if he remembers this conversation, but he looks at me and he goes, if God has called you to be the next female billionaire, it is my job to step out of the way, put my ego aside, and help you be the next billionaire. Whatever it is you need to do in this life, I'm going to be your biggest supporter. And he said, even if you want to run for politics or you want to do anything, it doesn't have to be me. It could be you. And I will support you. I'll step aside and I'll support you and I'll teach you everything you need. And he's encouraged me to serve on boards. He's encouraged me to do all sorts of things. He's really enhanced and increased my level of exposure. So I have a lot of respect and gratitude for him, because he's helped me to propel me into my dreams and my visions.
I was going to bring him on so that we see how his face looks like. I was thinking that he was blushing when you were saying saying all this, but I really want to appreciate you and I want to say thank you. You are the first woman I've brought on the show this month, and I'm hoping to write little stories. Yours is one that I would like to share about how you became an electrical engineer. You have shared nuggets of wisdom, especially to us parents and to the young people on how to follow your example. I'm particularly very, very appreciative of this last comment. It's not always that husbands get recognized for the hard work they do. Do you have any last words before I take over my show with Okpa, who has been patiently waiting?
I just want to say thank you again for inviting me over. It's been an honor and a privilege. Thanks to all the people who are listening and who've been sending their comments in. And good evening. That's all I have.
So I have a standing invitation when COVID is over, but Okpa told me one thing: I should not expect dinner. That I know. So I'll be coming over, but you see, let me unmute him. What do you say?
Just call me back. I'm on a call.
Oh, okay. I thought he was talking to us, but so I know what to expect when I get to Dallas. But I want to say that it's a privilege to share your family, share in your family's life, and let's continue building the family. And just to let you know, I have two Cameroonian women who lead Cameroon organizations geared towards promoting young girls in STEM. I'm going to be reaching out to you to connect them so that they can reach out and benefit from your wisdom. Thank you very much. Thank you, and have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Okpa.
Sir.
Thank you very much for sharing, for letting your wife share wisdom with us. And again, as always, I want to start off by saying thank you. You're a great man. And I heard it. Your wife said it all. Repeating again, it's as if it was rehearsed. Exposure is something you have talked about a lot on this platform. We need to be exposed. And she said it even beautifully. Your success in the United States, let me put it up, may be limited to the people you hang out with. So I'm just happy that I'm hanging out with you. And I'm sure the audience is equally happy that they're hanging out with you. But let's get to it. What did you think about the conversation? Any comments?
I mean, I'm happy to, excuse me, I'm happy to hear what she said. And, when she made a comment about me, I had even forgotten, but she's my wife, she's my biggest audience. And, sometimes she's sleeping, something comes to my mind, I'm waking her up. She said, can I sleep? Can I sleep? This is too early. And I'm saying, well, just listen to it. Just listen to it. But, I'm about her succeeding. I told her, I said, look, because I married you doesn't mean your dreams and ambition has to be suspended. That's not what it is. God created you, gave you your own thing. I shouldn't suppress it. Instead I should support it. So, she did even say, the kind of clients she's had. She's done work for Lockheed Martin, the U.S. military, Pfizer. I mean, her client is a prestigious client, she's worked with, and they're constantly recruiting her for assignment. So that's what this is. It's not about a dominating relationship. It's about complementing each other and yielding. Some places I say, I said, baby girl, I call her baby girl. I said, baby girl, it's your thing, go for it. And so I said, go for it. Go do it. I will yield to you. So when you learn those kind of qualities in a relationship, your wife or your husband becomes your friend. It's not Oga has spoken, what Oga wants to do happens. No. So thank you for having her. I mean, that was the longest 40 minutes I have to keep quiet.
I can imagine how difficult that was for you. But if you are just joining us, you are welcome on the Lambom Show, and we are on our weekly Wednesday conversations with ED Okpa. Our topic for today is going to be citizenship versus tribalism. And permit me read something that Okpa wrote and shared with me. He said, It may help to read a book in defense of elitism by William A. Henry III. Citizens built nation while tribal people focus on issues not germane to nation building. The reason Africa will find it hard to emerge, they are overly tribal. Less than 1% Africans are citizens in their country. They passionately owe allegiance to their tribe, not to the nation. And within each tribe, intra-tribal squabbles are strong. One cannot give what they don't have mentally. Africans may copy, but they lack the will to paste. If not, how come of all the education, information, and knowledge available to them, primitive ways still prevail in their approach to common good for greater good? Everything is seen from the prism and periscope of tribe. My 2 cents, better than the 2 kobo I long left behind in my country of birth for my country of choice, US Africa. So what is the point? What's the point you're making? There's a lot packed into that.
Well, Lambert, when I write to provoke. I am not flowery. I am not, if I write something, if I cannot get my thoughts on paper in less than 30 minutes, I think I'm wasting my time. So that's why when I write, I'm pointed, I'm factual, and I want to grab people's attention. So back to the subject matter, it's a fact. I mean, you go to any part of Africa, before they even say I'm a Kenyan, they say, I'm a Zulu, I'm Igbo, I'm Yoruba, I'm this, I'm that. And so everything they do, they look at it from that point of view. They will go and bow to their local chief, who doesn't even bring economic development to their tribe, but they will say nonsense about their president because they essentially the president is from their tribe. So citizens are people who recognize their tribe, but they are not tied to their tribe. There's another saying I have ties in Nigeria, but I'm not tied to Nigeria. So I mean, America is a good example of it. We are here as citizens. So whatever tribe you come from, fine. Your heritage and your ancestry is what it is, but we are for America. So you could live next door to a Muslim, you could live next door to a non-Christian or a Christian or whatever. The point is, there are rules, there are expectations of citizens, and those are guided by what? Rules and regulations and respect. In tribes, it doesn't matter. So somebody in the tribe, this is the chief. So the chief said, I don't want this to happen. Everybody said, okay, well, nobody challenges the chief. Nobody questions the chief because they think because of the title they have, they are God to be worshipped. So that's what it is. I mean by tribe. I mean family is different. But when because every country, every society starts with a family, to the society, to the nation. So in Nigeria, what are the chances an Igbo man or a Hausa man or a Cameroonian who has lived in Nigeria, born and raised, but he has the identity of, you're originally from Cameroon. How are the chances they can run for governor of the state they lived in, or the mayor or the local government? It's not going to happen because they are tribal. They will remind you, you're not from here, even though you are born there. But in this country, you come in most places, 6 months is what it takes for you to prove residency, and you're ready to go for anything that is available politically. So that is why Africa will never get in.
But I mean, isn't it the case that because I am from this area, I should have a right to be able to do things other than somebody who has just come in and doesn't have the history.
I mean, what is time? You're from what area? What is the area?
So let's take the tribe. Let's take the tribe. Okay, I'm Igbo. Okay, so I live in this place. Why would I want an Hausa man to come and rule here?
But if one of the Igbo is stupid, one of the Igbo is an idiot, one of the Igbo is a dunce. But the outsider probably can rescue the area. Why are you putting allegiance to the fact that the geography of their birth is better than somebody else who's coming? So that's what I'm saying. Africans are tied to the geography of their birth, their tribal identity. They don't look for the substance in a human being. It's always, oh, my tribes people, oh, this and that and that. But look at how it's destroying every country, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa. With all the degrees we have piled upon and certificates and exposure that is all. I mean, some Africans have exposure, but they have a limited mental capacity. They're afraid to let other people into their space for fear of, oh, why are you doing this? So let me go check with my local people. What are my people thinking? And you can see those are African immigrants. 90% of them circulate within their own African community. You know, where they just do what? Feed each other with information that is not helping anybody, you know, break the cycle. So that's the tribal thing. I mean, everybody's going to have an identity, but if the identity and your tribe has no relevance to enhance your quality of life, then we have to ask the question. I don't mind if an Alpha guy, somebody who grew up in Sokoto or Yaoundé, is lived in Enugu, for instance, born and raised, and want to step up and do something, why not? Have you ever, okay, they don't want you to serve as their governor. Have you ever said when you give them money, you're a Cameroonian, giving an Igbo man, and they say, oh, I will not take your money because you're Cameroonian. They will take it. But then when you want to run for office, oh, no, you got to go back to your place, go back to wherever you came from. That is the behavior of people who are primitive. So citizens, Africans need to start promoting citizenship, not all this their tribal stuff. Because we have seen it. I mean, Africa is not a new invention. It's the oldest continent, that human beings ever habited. But look at where they are, because they are still overly tribal. And even when you get inside the tribe, I'm Igbo. When you get inside the tribal Igbo, then there's another set of Igbos who think they are this way. And then you get into the villages, they give them by compounds, they hate each other. So if you have energy, devoting energy to issues that are not collateral, how are you going to build a nation? How are you going to build a nation? America may not be a perfect nation, but you know, when I ran for mayor, less than 8 years of becoming a citizen, I ran for mayor of a major city. Only in America. Can I do it in Ghana? They will just bundle me one night and ship me across the border. Even in another part of Nigeria that they say, oh, state of origin. So we have to start speaking to these issues. Yeah, if people man is, that's why they end up with the kind of crappy government they have, because it's our people, we have to have it. So if it's turn off a goat to be your governor, let it be. Because from that.
So again, one thing that I was reading through something today and it struck me. There's an article in one of the Dallas newspapers. You wrote to the editor.
I did?
Yes, that was. I think they had appointed you to a board. I think it was a transportation board. Yes, and an African American, I think it's a senator or congressman.
Councilman.
Yes, objected to it on the basis of the fact that you were from Nigeria and it wasn't clear about your allegiance. It
wasn't even about allegiance. This guy knows me, but again, he sees that's a problem even with African Americans themselves. They just tribal. I've dealt with them. I'm the first foreign born to have been secretary of the oldest African American Chamber of Commerce. The Dallas Black Chamber. The time came when it's my turn to become chairman of the chamber. What did they do? They started playing all that, and I told them, I said, you know what, if all of us were in the country I was born, none of you will even cross my father's compound gate. But so let's just have this understanding. I didn't come to America to be a member of the chamber. I said, from the country I came from, we are the chamber. We are the people who, people come to us. So I left them alone. So I have had my experience with them. But if a white man has said what that black man said, the media would be all over him. But because another African American guy said to Native African, it was okay. So you could see that's how America looks at the issue of black people. And they say, They don't even like themselves. They're not even cohesive. They don't even recognize value. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger was a bodybuilder. He came from Austria. You know, I didn't even think he went to college. But he married into one of America's prominent families. You know, the Shriver, which is connected to the Kennedys, and married Maria Shriver, who is, you know, niece to the Kennedys, and became governor of one of the biggest states in America. How many African Americans will support an African like Arnold Schwarzenegger to be anything in America? They will not. They will think of their homeboys that want to take them anywhere. But why people are value proposition. They are value. Their culture is value driven. I'm not saying everything they do is perfect, but let's acknowledge it. You know, how many people are moving to Nigeria, you know, or Cameroon or Africa? But people are coming to America because of what, you know, the promise of something. It is a value proposition culture, and that's what citizens do. Citizens look for value. Tribal people look for nothing except to make themselves feel good. Oh, it's our man who is the chief. It's our man who is the president. And then what? Let's go to the village of the man who's the president of Cameroon and see what has happened there. Nothing. They just feel good, but they don't have good feelings.
So a couple of comments. Tribalism does not go against nationalism. In fact, I did not understand a notion of nationalism that defined nations through colonial borders. Current African states do not correspond to tribal limits. For example, the border between Benin and Nigeria separates Yoruba families. The Beninois speaks French as an official language. The Nigerian side speaks English. So again, it is this whole thing about
what I'm talking about citizenship. If a Nigerian born in Nigeria moves to Benin and stays in Benin, I want to run for president, or, you know, the family lives there, what are the chances? Would they now remind him or her, oh, you're from there? Or vice versa. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not, you know, tribalism is all over the place. You know, we have cross borders, but I'm saying citizens don't look for those, you know, geography of your birth or your travel. They look for the quality. They look for, have you made the requirement to serve us in this capacity? You know, that's what people look for. Africans don't look for those things. No. For instance, you know, I go to Cameroon and I get naturalized. Okay, you know, maybe the constitution of Cameroon says I cannot be president, but can I run for city council in Cameroon? Can I run for parliament? I have invested my time. I'm a business owner. I have contributed to the community. Would that happen? It will happen, but you know, it's possible, but highly improbable. Is what I'm saying. So because we are not driven by value. The African culture is not a value-driven thing. It's an identity-driven thing. It's a travel-driven thing. If you're from Igbo and you know you're dealing with some people who don't like the Igbos, no matter what you do, they ain't gonna take you in. They're not gonna take you in because they're suspecting you. So that's the thing. You know, citizenship. You know, maybe it's a choice of word, but I want to draw the line. If you go to most of these places, you see it is only about them. It's only about, oh, if you go to Enugu, it's all about Igbos. And then the Igbos start to find differences. Are you Igbo North, Igbo East, Igbo West? What is your village? Yeah, well, all those little things. They spend energy on things that don't really matter, is what I'm saying. You're supposed to recognize the human talent. And if that talent is coming outside of the geography of your birth, welcome it. And don't say, oh, well, we got to go find our own.
Yeah, but we all say charity begins at home, isn't it? What's wrong with
charity begins at home if the charity makes sense. If the charity is crappy, if the charity is you better look for a foreign charity. So you don't, you know, the charity. If the charity is good charity, yes. But I'm just saying, you know, every population set has its own content. You know the shape of a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people are going to be on top, some people are going to be, you know, mid somewhere in between, and then a whole bunch at the bottom. So what I'm saying, you need talent to build a place. You don't need tribalism. You go look at most countries in the world and you look at who are citizens. And you see citizenship is that individual who looks beyond the identity that is put on them, but looks for the common good of the country. Africans don't look for the common good of their country. They look for what their tribe people are going to do for them. When you go to Nigerian, what is it called? Nigerian assembly. You could look at all the members and tell which one comes from what tribe, because they're always going to dress like they're going to show their tribe.
So let's take meritocracy, because I think it's a problem in our modern society, and again, it is difficult. Don't we say that it's better to deal with the devil you know than the angel you don't know?
Well, the devil you know is good, but the devil you know is becoming devilish. Okay, so yeah, it's good to deal with it, but the one you know is becoming devilish and destructive, and diabolic. Is what I'm saying. I mean, I'll give you an example with Igbo states. In present Nigerian structure, there are 5 core Igbo states. Starting with Anambra, Abia, Enugu, Ebonyi, and Imo State. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the 60s, all of those people were Eastern Nigeria, and they went to war, and then they created Eastern Central States. So the present 5 states in non-Igbo. In Igbo and in now Nigeria used to be called East Central State. So 1976, the East Central State was split into Anambra and Imo. And then subsequently, they have 5 now. Do you know, if you are an Enugu man who grew up in Aba, you can never run for governor over there. You can never run for House of Assembly. They will tell you, go back to your state of origin. Ask every Nigerian, that's what they call your state of origin. My mother-in-law, she's from the West. My wife's, mom, when she was due for a certain promotion, they reminded her, oh, you're not from here. You got to go back to where you came from. So you have lost talent. You have lost value, because you're looking for that geography of birth that is similar, identical to yours. So one of your villages is a bunch of idiots, a bunch of airheads who never left anywhere. You're just looking for that goat to lead you when you need a lion.
So, Okpa, would you accept a very talented Chinese to become the president of? Of
course, if he's going to get the roads, if he's going to build the roads, if he's going to have the water running, if he's going to have the lights, yeah. If you prove the residency, but you see, the reason they don't want to do that is because stealing. There's a lot of stealing from the public purse. Okay, so they rather have their tribesmen stealing from the public purse that doesn't benefit them. But if you have the rules right, it'll be hard for your president or your governor to steal from you. So that's why tribalism is big in Africa. They are always looking for somebody who looks like them, who dresses like them, who's going to make them feel good. Remember the phrase, Africans feel good, but they don't have good feelings. Because even their own tribesmen, at the end of the day, they aren't giving them jobs. They might have a few people appointed, but basically they're doing this thing for themselves. How many villages in Africa that a president came from would you go back and say, oh, this corporation moved to that village because the president's influence took them there? No, it's always the house they built. It's always that big mansion. And then when they die, the kids don't even go back there. And the whole thing falls to ruin. Have you been to Congo to see what Mobutu built? Google Mobutu village and see how the money he squandered building that place is now like a war zone. People abandoned it because there was no intellectual influence behind it. It was just that he had money and I was gonna go do it for my village people. And then he did, and he died, and then the whole thing fell to ruins. But if there were citizens, people pick up on it. People pick up, hey, a lot of things we see in America, we are built by people who have passed on. But citizens do what? They rally. They didn't say, oh, because it was a Jewish man or Irish man, or it's an American thing. It's a community thing. They rally and they keep, elongating that thing. We don't. You go do the study. I've been to Nigeria. I've seen the homes of former governors and presidents. Yeah, sometimes it's covered with weeds. because the people just don't pick up and take it. I mean, and make it look better.
So I think it muddies the water, and you don't give a level playing field to locals when you now dilute everything to say that, hey, whoever is the most brilliant here wins it. Isn't there some
No,
value in
that's I'm not saying.
having?
I mean, what's the test of brilliance? What is the test of
Okay, maybe that's
intelligence?
a wrong. Maybe I mean, just take the point you're making about being a citizen, and I guess that citizenship
No,
in.
you and I, you live in the Washington D.C. area, okay? I don't know
Yeah,
what your status is. I'm not an immigration officer asking you, but the only thing, because you are not born in this country, the only thing you cannot run for is that of president.
correct.
You could run for city. You could be the mayor of the city where you live. You
Mm-hmm.
could be a senator. You could be the governor. You could be the richest man. Because they're looking for the value. When you step up to run, they're going to look, okay, you made the qualifications of residence, you made the qualification of whatever that office is calling for. Why not? Go ahead, campaign. He's value driven. It has nothing to do with, oh, well, you're not from here, your village. I mean, some people may say that, but they can't stop you. So it's not about intelligence. It's about opening the door to people who have lived in your area, who may have better knowledge and skill than what the locals have to step up. If you have the rules, there's no way people are going to steal from you. But Africans don't have rules. So that's why they are afraid. The Africans are very suspicious people. And the suspicious start from the tribe.
Isn't that too generic? Because I mean, I think
It
that is
is
more.
generic because in statistics, okay. I mean, we're not talking about, we look at the frequency, the mode, and the and medium, and all these other things we use to measure numbers. So I'm saying if you have 100 Africans to do a study on, I mean, 99% or 95% is going to almost end up in your prediction. That qualifies for generalization, okay? But if it's, so we have 5%, we have 2%, that's an exception, that's an outlier. So I'm talking about majority, and then we know the country we came from, so let's go back and look at those places and see how the people have done. And see how the tribe how many tribes are bringing jobs into their village. And I'm creating, let's say economic development corporation, going after companies. How did it happen? We were companies. And we don't need to do it to go to, by going to the governor or the mayor to say, oh, no. If you think there's a company you can bring into your neighborhood, you go after them. You say, hey, what would it take for you to do X, Y, Z? And they'll tell you. But over there, it's a tribe. Let's go talk to the chief. Let's go talk to this. Let's go talk to that. And then by the time they finish doing the libation and invoking some dead people to come and bless what they are doing, the living are dead. Isn't that what they spend time doing? They go in and they start calling the names of some people who died even when he didn't even know anything. They come and drink. That's the libation. Hey, come and drink. Come and drink. How many of those people have showed up to do anything good for their community? Why are you calling them? Leave them alone.
But I mean, again, without discounting, I guess there's some value in invoking the memory of people who
No,
have
there's
gone
no
ahead.
value. I haven't seen anyone. It's like when my father died, somebody said, oh, yeah, you're going to see how good things are going to work for you. I said, why is that? All of a sudden, he's going to do something he didn't do when he was alive. I said, come on, don't tell me that crap. It doesn't work that way. Whatever I do, I'm going to do it because I'm alive to do it. Or I probably know better. And then I'll remember my parents, the memories of them. But don't tell me, oh, when your parents die, you're going to see how well it is. If that's the case, Africa would have been on top because so many people have died. Okay? They would have come in. You know how we spend money maybe in Cameroon they don't do it. Nigerians from time to time they say, oh, we gotta go do memorial service for our mom, our parents who died, and there was no cow killed for them, and they spend money to entertain. At the end of the day, they have no light, they have no scholarship fund, they ain't attracting any businesses just to make themselves feel good. I mean, people ask me, what are you going to do something for my mom? I say, I always do something for my mom. I say, there's no day I don't remember her, but I ain't going to call her a whole bunch of you to come and eat food in my house. No, I'm not doing it. And I've told people when I die, the tradition of kill cow and kill goat, I say, I've told my wife when I die, hopefully she'll be, she'll live, longer. So I said, don't kill any animal in my name. And the ceremony will be 45 minutes. And if you're not my friend, if you show up, I'm going to get up from my coffin and slap you and say, why are you here? And my wife is like, well, I say, I have given you the what I want. If you don't do it, I will come and torment you every night in our life. Okay? So what I'm saying is that everybody's going to die. Why put so much weight and resources and all those other things? It does not really do anything. My point. And that's my own. Anybody who wants to go spend millions of whatever currency just to entertain people because their own person dies, that's their business. I will never do it. My parents have passed, a sibling has passed. People are gonna die all the time, or sometimes. But I'm not gonna be that person who is gonna spend money, to do funerals. So they will say, "Oh my God, man, you have 20 cows." If I have 20 cows, I'll go start a ranch and have a meat processing plant. I'm not to slaughter it for people to eat and go away and act stupid.
So this is continuing along the lines. These comments were posted while I was still talking with Madame. Take a critical look at the same Western countries. Western countries are homogeneous. In fact, most of them have a chamber in their Congress or Parliament that gives equal power to all regions or tribes or the decisions of the counties. So I guess the person is, again, going back to the issue of
Americans, I don't know what English language or dictionary these guys is using. Tribes. This is not what I'm talking about. If I'm from Texas and I move to Maryland, once I meet the residents of Maryland, I can run for anything over there. Okay, so that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who do things strictly on the basis of where they were born or where originally their own parents came from. So tribalism is the biggest issue facing Africans because they think, oh, why should I support somebody who is Yaoundé and who is from some other stuff. We don't trust them. That's how Africans need to say, oh, we don't like them. But they say, what's the reason? Maybe 300 years ago, one of them did some stupid stuff. And that's what the African Americans are caught up with today. They still remember slavery. They still remember those things that happened. And it made them suspicious. Look at Europe. Do you know the Europeans have had more wars against themselves than any other continent? As recent, in terms of time of life, 1945 and 1919, the First World War and the Second, they have had more. They have killed each other more. How many African countries have had war against themselves? They've had intertribal wars because they hate each other. But these ones were dominating, and then after a while, look at what they have done. They have learned their lessons and boom, and they are growing. But Africans haven't challenged themselves. No African country has tried to dominate another African country. Is it Nigeria? Look at how big Nigeria is. They say they're the giant of Africa. They're the lousiest giant I've ever known. Okay, what are they doing? Are they influencing regional economic development in the countries around them? They're not. By now, Naira should have been the currency of transaction because it would have been a stronger currency that Cameroon can borrow from, Ghana, all that stuff. But all of those African countries are not borrowing from their own countries. They are borrowing from outside. And you say Nigeria is rich and Nigeria has all this education. Nigeria has a bunch of tribal people. They don't have citizens. They look inward. Everything is inward. People have said, hey, Ejika, you're going to go build a house in the village. I say, for roaches and rats? I say, I don't live there. I'm not building anything there. That's what tribal people do. They go build in their father's village and then come to America and trade hours for dollar. They live in one apartment. So they go to their village and then they take pictures. Oh, look at my mansion. What's a mansion? A mansion that is on a septic tank. A mansion that has no water system. A mansion that when you go down sleep for 1 week and then you run away to go trade hours in America. Heck no.
So I want to read a comment here. I've been laughing away too much. So Okpa is right. Tribalism is a basis of nationalism, but Africans get stuck at that level. A civilized society has a supergroup in which membership is open to any individual of any background and enjoys a strong overarching group transcending collective identity. Continental Africa gets mired in the tribal challenges.
Well, I mean, like I said, this guy understands the difference. I mean, English words can be complicated for most people, to understand it. My thing is citizens. When you're a citizen, you are an individual who has transcended the tertiary primitive way of doing things. You see the goodness in everybody, regardless of the label that are put on. Africans don't see the goodness in you, they see your tribe first. And from there, they start to measure you. America says, look, Lambert, if I tell you a project, I'm not trying to put a trumpet. If I tell you a project I'm working on in Dallas now, and I have assembled a team, they're looking for value. I'm getting a major university involved. I'm getting a major transit authority involved. I'm getting a major telecommunication with people because I have an idea. And once I pushed it out or pitched it, they see it, boom, they form the company around it. I don't have to do anything. I tell people, I said, before Jesus showed up, who came before Jesus? Was it not John the Baptist? So you have to be able, and that's what America does. Your accent should be your asset. But because you have an accent, you have to also have a mental capacity. You have to have value. So because hey, if you know what you're saying, your accent should not get in the way. People will listen. Is when you don't have anything to say that makes sense, or your accent becomes a distraction.
Yeah.
So for citizens, I'm saying citizenship is a value proposition, membership, and engagement. Tribalism is an identity politics that limits individuals and makes them, and then they become very, tired or mired, like the guy who posted their stuff said, mired in their own internal issues. They are inward looking. Citizens, in another simpler way, citizens look outward. Tribal people look inward. Maybe that will make the difference.
Yeah, so again, I think maybe, I don't want to call it a better way, but I believe that there should be that balancing act of, okay, you have an origin that you should not discount, you should not just displace, but at the same time, that should not be the guiding factor, isn't it? So you can mix both the tribalism and the citizenship.
The tribal thing weighs heavily in the mind of Africans. There's no way my heritage as a Nigerian will be wiped. My ancestry is never in doubt. But if I were to come here and anytime, I'm meeting with my clients or white people, I say, oh, by the way, let's do a libation because I want to drag them into the tribal way of Africa. So they're not going to pay attention to me. Say, hey, they don't waste our time. So at what time do you migrate from that? Recognizing that it does not have any collateral value to do what you want to do. I've lived in America, Dallas, 34 years. Longer than I lived in Nigeria, but I came after college in Nigeria. I knew the physical part of Nigeria because I went to college there. I did my youth service. My dad was political. My sister was a first lady because her husband was a governor. So, and I go home and I physically travel to see things. So I've seen, and remember one time in our show, I said for a man to say his wife is the best, they have gone through 2 other wives. Okay. So I'm comfortable to say America is better than Nigeria because I have been on both sides, and I can give you simple reasons. But it does not change the fact that I'm an Igbo guy or Nigerian. But I'm not going to get tied. Again, like I said, I have ties in Nigeria, but I'm not tied to Nigeria, and that's what citizenships do. You have ties, but you're not tied to. Irish people are here, Italians, everybody on the face of the earth is in America. They're not bringing their tribal ways. We're looking at laws we're going to pass to help us build a nation. Okay, tell me the Igbo people's law. They don't have any law. They just tell you what their customs are. Well, when you see the chief, you don't shake his hand, shake the stick. What kind of crap is that? Or when you see
Okay.
the chief, the chief has a red cap. What does I mean? What the okay, fine. I wear my baseball cap, but my baseball cap is functional because it gives me a shade, a peak, because of the sun. What is all that feather in your cap? What does it really do? In a tropical region, your hair is sweating.
Yeah.
Again, you dress in a certain way to show people you're travel. I mean, come on, I'm talking about value proposition. How do we build roads? How do we have light? How do I bring a company into this place? I don't have to know the chief. I can give the chief a courtesy call, but I have to go get his permission. In Dallas, if I'm building something, I don't need the mayor to permit it. I just go with the zoning and the requirement, and I go to the city council to pitch it. And if they see the economic value, a lot of people might vote one way or the other, but people are going to say, we want that. Like when I was being considered for a position on the city police, Dallas police oversight committee. I mean, I got 12 votes out of 12 council members.
Oh, wow.
Because yeah, and there were 2 black people who didn't want me on that board. so, and I like it. I like it when I'm the subject of discussion. So the whole city council voted for everybody in what they call consent vote. Consent vote is when they throw in a whole bunch of stuff and they say, boom, all in favor, everybody goes. But one black council member said, I want Mr. Okpa's nomination to be handled separately. Okay, so when they are done with the agenda, say, okay, now let's go talk about Mr. Okpa. Isn't that powerful? An African immigrant name is being discussed in the city council of one of the major cities on who wants him in this committee and who does it. And when they finish, the mayor said, okay, let's vote. And they called people by name. My wife was here taking the number 12. So 100 years from now, that record is here. That's record in the city archives, okay? So that's what I'm talking about, citizenship, not the tribe.
So again, my daughter just joined this show and she says, hi, daddy. And it's encouraging people, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you, Kayla, for promoting your dad's show. That is so again, I think
like my wife said, those kids are very innocent. It's the adults that to poison their mind and tell them stuff. But if you let them, the kids are wiser than some of the skills. I hope she's not listening. Some of the stupid adults. The kids are very, very innocent. They are very, pure in heart. When they see good things, they talk about it. When they see the bad things, they talk about it until they get to a certain age and someone says, oh, by the way, we're from this tribe. We don't see stuff like that. Okay, then now they start to switch their mind. So it's the parents that are poisoning this and creating this tribal, inclusion that limits.
Yeah, so it's quite, I mean, it's quite interesting because again, my kids they're all born here, so they are Americans. Yes, they have never been.
I told my son and my daughter, hey guys, your dad can never be president of America. The Constitution limits that, and I'm okay with it. That's one thing I'm not going to fight America for. But I said I've taken them to the White House and I pointed out to them. I said, if you want to run for that house, you better do it. Okay.
Right.
It's up to you. Governor office, I mean, when I hosted the governors, I will have my kids in there to meet them, to know that these people are human. I take them around. I've taken them to do the FBI program for kids. I've taken them everywhere. Exposure. But I don't say this is what you do. Let that sink in their mind and how to stand up to people if they have convictions. If somebody's trying to tell them because you're a black kid or African kid, tell them, heck no. This is it. Because they can go to school like everybody, get a degree like everybody. But if they don't have the confidence and if they don't function on these loads of conviction and facts, anybody can have opinion, but very people have facts. And the very people can stand behind their facts. If I tell, I told you this before, Lambert. If I tell somebody go to hell, I am buying them ticket. And I'm not gonna apologize for it because I really meant it. Because as for me, it's a fact, it's not an opinion. I say, hey man, go to hell. And they say, what do you mean? I say, I buy you the ticket, first class ticket. If you want to, you go.
Right. So again, we're on the 1 hour 30 minutes mark, and I think that we should. It's been a great day. I have gone into the home of the Okpas from DC. If you missed the first part of this show, you need to go back and listen. This is hilarious. I was very privileged. We all were privileged to listen, to watch, and get wisdom from Mrs. Okpa. And again, I think Sir Okpa clarified something. The essence of the conversation this evening has been the value proposition, which is not based on what tribe you come from, but what value you're bringing in terms of your citizenship. And I think it's something for us, most of us Africans, to consider. We come to the United States, we are here, we keep thinking about some tribes we come from and those allegiances. They are good in a certain sense, but when it comes to that value proposition, what is it? So, Okpa, I don't know whether you have any last words or any other thing.
Well, again, thank you for having, my wife and I on the show, and she took the lead. You see, my ego is always subsidiary when it's my wife. I let her, stand in front or whatever she wants to do. And that was the longest 40-something minutes I ever kept. So if you're able to keep me quiet for that long, you have done something that I will never forget. But for the general audience or whomever is listening, look, challenge yourself, be critical of yourself. When I write, I am not criticizing, I'm being critical. There's a difference. Africans don't like to be critical. If you go to Africa and say, why do we have open gutters? Why don't we process common waste? Our streets are littered, our markets are filthy, everything. They say, why are you criticizing? No, you are being critical. And critical means, is that all we can do? Can we do more? So, but when people are so sentimental and looking for somebody to make them feel good, even when they're not having good feelings, that's a problem. So whatever you do, I mean, you being born by somebody is a biological process, but your friends are choices. The life you live are choices. Your lifestyle is choices. Lambert, you see me, I ride bicycle, I'm in my 60s. I do these things that most times when I share the picture with Nigerians, oh man, you are too old, you better watch it. I say, shut the fuck up, excuse my French, But the white people say, wow, man, you are that age, you are doing this, man, you are an inspiration. How can we work with you? That's the difference. Africans think, oh, this is going to happen. If I die today, I'm not going to be the first to die at my age, but I'm going to live a life that I think is suitable for me for my mental health and physical health. And if you put the brain in a mode that is not active, remember the brain is a bunch of cell or whatever cells that if you don't constantly send the electrical thing impulses, what I call electrical impulses, your thinking that activates it. What does it do? You start to get more mushy, and then things start to happen. So think and then act. Thinking is enough. Just act. Chase something, even if it doesn't come the way you want it, you could learn a lesson from it. So for my African people, I'm black, you see it, it's not going to change, even if God is not going to one day I wake up and look so different, except for people who bleach. You see that bleaching problems. But I'm not going to change the complexion or my identity. But I want to be a citizen that seeks opportunity to add value to my community. That's it. There's nothing more. Everybody has a time with death. When it comes, it comes. So thank you for having us. My wife, I guess, she's a milder one, which is good because both of us cannot be crazy. So thank you for the show and keep doing what you do. And, one day have your daughter on the show with her friends. They do a kid show.
Right.
Let them talk about being raised in the home they are being raised and what they say. What do you expect of yourself? Do that in show. And then they go to school and say, hey, look at me. And so that sometime when they do their resume, they say, when I was 10 years old, I was interviewed. You know how powerful that would be in her resume?
Correct.
Just like when I tell people, they say, hey, how did you get into real estate? I say, when I was 7 years old, I went to my father's office and I said, whatever he's doing, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what has gotten me to where anytime I tell people that, boom, it's always about conversation. So that's it for me. And I'm going to go keep quiet for another 40 minutes, you know.
Yeah, so again, if you are just joining us earlier on, we had Sir Okpa's wife. It was a great show. Three things she said, which were quite critical for me. One is about exposure. We need to be exposed. A lot of us are not exposing ourselves. We are not exposing our kids. And she's an electrical engineer who she owns her own firm, I think, and she's a consulting firm, and she has huge contracts around. We all need to learn from each other. The other thing she said is about you become what you become thanks to the people around you. Okay, so if you are just finding out, you are not reading and just hanging out with a bunch of people who are like telling you stuff that is just related to Africa, you may be missing out a lot. But again, the bottom line is that exposure. Okay, and then as parents, let us try to find out what our kids have an interest and a passion in. And because we're talking about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, she thinks that we should be able to expose our kids, find out their passion, and then bring them to these professions. And today with Sir Okpa, we're exploring the value of tribalism versus citizenship. And the point was simply, we need a value proposition beyond the tribalism. Tribalism has its own place in terms of the things that it brings, but again, it seems to have been a curse for African communities. And Sir Okpa's proposition is more that it is better to be a citizen than a tribalist. Okay, to sum it up. And I want to thank.
When you travel, if you show the blue passport at the airport, it's not a tribal thing. You're an American citizen, okay? You're not an American tribe. So have you ever used the Igbo passport to travel? No, or Yoruba passport, Hausa passport. So I'm just saying, there is a value in citizenship, right? And the countries that have built that citizenship, their passport is respected. Their passport is respected. So it's not a very complicated thing, but it's harder for people to, again, remember you said something in there. We can copy, but we don't have the will to paste. Because we don't want to offend our so-called tradition. You know, people always say, EGK, can we Igbo's true kola nut. I don't know about Cameroonian, but Igbo, if you go to an Igbo man's house, you bring kola nut and say, let us, especially who brings kola nut brings life. And they do all of those stuff. And then after that, they start fighting each other. So, I come to US and I said, no, I don't eat those stuff. I said, because I washed it, it has not brought any peace. It has not brought anything. So get rid of it. Okay? People have asked me, why don't you, going back to what my wife said, why you don't hang out with Nigerians? I said, I wasn't hanging out with them back home. Why would I hang out with them here? I mean, why should I reverse myself? You know what I mean? Look, you and I are friends now, even though we haven't physically met. We are friends. I'm not going to see you. I will say, you're Cameroonian American, but I'm going to see the value. Just like what you have given me value by having me on your show. If I see how I can promote you and support you, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to say, well, try.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Again, if you have missed this Wednesday shows, you need to tune in. Sir Okpa, he never, ever disappoints.
Let me tell you what we're going to do next week. Let me talk about it. Let's say it.
Go ahead.
The difference between being wealthy and being rich. That's our next conversation.
Okay. So coming from an African immigrant, let's hear the difference between being wealthy and being rich. And once
Yes.
again, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you for spending your time with us. Bring my regards to Madame and thank her for offering her time. And I really appreciate it. Until then, it's a good evening from all
Check
of
your
us.
email for her bio. You know.
Okay, yes, I'll put that again. There are two things. The article that I read at the beginning when I was beginning the conversation with Sir Okpa, I'm going to put that on my page together with Madame's bio so that if you want to reach out again, we are building a community. We are building citizens from all over.
Remember the society. Remember the society.
Correct. US Africa Society.
If you need money for me to send it to you so you can go and protect that name and register so that somebody that go and copy, let's do it.
Good. So again, thank you all. Wisdom from Sir Okpa. You can never miss this Wednesdays. Thank you all and have a good evening.
Thank you.